Welcome to Skip versus Ernestine. This is round 15.
Wow.
She's my wife, Ernestine. She's from New York. I'm Skip. I'm from Oklahoma City. This is our referee, Hazel, our daughter from Burbank. She's a Valley girl and a warrior princess.
She is a Valley girl.
She is a warrior. So, let's get started. We told you last week that Ernestine had become like a daughter to our 105-year-old neighbor named Adele.
That's true. That's true.
And that we had run into Adele the previous Saturday as her caretaker was pushing her in a wheelchair out in our gated community. We just happened to be on the way to the mall on Saturday and crossed their path. Ernestine had talked to Adele on the phone, but just seeing her...
I hadn't seen her in a while.
Shook up Ernestine because Adele had been in the hospital we found out for a night, but she had fallen and hit her head, which was not a good thing at 105.
But I had not seen her in a while, and she was active up until 2 weeks ago, so I had never seen her in a wheelchair being pushed around, and it was really
No, we had not seen
jarring.
that.
It's terrible.
When we walked up, Adele being pushed was actually asleep out in the LA sunshine. And her caretaker turned to Ernestine and said something about how, Adele's lived a very good life. As if, for a second, I thought she meant she had just passed right there before our very eyes.
There we go again with my pet peeve, which is who's to say who's lived enough of their life.
Yeah.
I don't know where somebody gets off to say, she's lived a good life. She could live to 110, to 114.
Well,
so
to that point, you were angry the rest of the day about that.
Yeah.
And you later said to me, who knows, maybe she could live 10 more years.
Yeah. I mean, if she hadn't fallen and hit her head, but I don't know. Another story.
Okay.
For another time.
Then this past week, one of Adele's sons texted Ernestine that Adele was indeed gone.
Yeah.
And only one other time had I seen Ernestine cry that hard for that long, and that was when her mother did pass, which was 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So you did receive a whole lot of social media response to Adele's passing.
I think a lot of people can relate.
Yeah, it touched...
To A, losing someone, and B, someone who's older, especially.
Touched a whole lot of people.
It did.
So let's start with a question from Stephanie from Salt Lake City, who asks, Ernestine, how are you doing following the loss of your dear friend Adele?
It's just so weird because then this past Saturday, Skip and I walked downstairs the same steps that we walked the week before, and that's when I ran into Adele, and it was a beautiful sunny day here, and it was just so weird to think that she wasn't there anymore. 1 week before, she was there. And even though she was not all there and mentally, because she was I guess she was zoning out at that point, but she still was laughing and smiling, and we cracked a couple of jokes, and it's just so weird how time in 1 week, somebody's life is gone. I know it happens in an instant to people, but so I think of her every single time when I go outside, and I think of her. I've been thinking of her 24 hours a day. I just think of her. I go to sleep thinking of her. And I just always felt she would always be there, even though I know she was 105, and everybody says, well, that's old, and she's lived a long life. But to me, she was always going to be there because Adele was just a staple. I could call her, and we'd laugh, and we'd talk. So I appreciate that.
You gave her gifts for every holiday.
Yeah, she loved every single thing. I would buy her a little something at Rite Aid, like a seasonal item. And she would call me and she'd go, I don't know where you get these things from. Like it was like I gave her gold or something, and it was a 99-cent little figurine. But she was appreciative of everything, and she just was a beautiful person.
So this became tricky for me, difficult, because I watched Ernestine and her sister Joyce go through the loss of their real mother, again, 12 years ago. And it's still fresh in your heart.
Oh, I miss my mother every minute of the day.
Every single day.
I had a great relationship with my mother. A lot of people don't have good relationships with their mother, and they have with their father. We were like friends.
You lived in New York. She was out on Long Island. You would call her
45 times a day.
45 times a day.
And we just could talk about anything and everything. I could tell my mother anything under the sun, from sex to music to whatever it is. And she would talk, and she lived a great long life in the sense that she knew everything. And to this day, I wish my mom was there so I could call her and ask her, hey, what do I do about this? Even though she may not know the answer that great, but it helped me to ask her, because I always thought she knew everything.
I still believe that her mother, Evelyn, is reincarnated right here in this one, because she acts like Evelyn would act. She kind of presides over everything. And
well, my mom, we were very close, and even though I was the youngest, my mother and I were best friends, and we were just as close as anyone could be, and so was my sister to my mother.
And by the way, when you broke down the other day when you heard about Adele, she just went crazy, because she just doesn't.
She doesn't like sadness.
She doesn't like that kind of sadness, because that's rare.
Yeah.
So she came straight over, and she wanted to help her, and she held her for a long time, and I think she did a lot of good for you through that.
That's why they call them therapy dogs.
I guess so. But she's beyond therapy. She's like our heart and soul of this household.
And Adele knew her, so when she was a little puppy, Adele came over and would hold her. And Adele loved animals. Adele loved everybody. So
again, tricky, difficult for me, because being the other side of this relationship, I saw you get closer and closer to Adele. But by the way we first met Adele, we're actually living, there are a couple of buildings here in this complex, but we're living in a different building, and she literally lived next door to us. And one Saturday morning, I just finished running on the treadmill. You were gone shopping or something. No,
I was at the gym.
Went to the gym in our complex. And there was a knock on the door, and I looked through the peephole, and I don't know that I'd ever met Adele before.
I don't think you did.
She had locked herself out of her place.
Well, she was 100 at that point.
She was 100. She wasn't
99.
Quite 100.
She was 99.
She was 99.
Yeah.
And she's standing out in the hallway, out in the foyer of the floor we lived on. And she was in her 90s.
She had a little T-shirt on with underpants.
She had locked herself out trying to get...
She went to get the newspaper.
A real live newspaper.
Yeah, the newspaper.
Which she still had delivered, the LA Times.
The LA Times. She went to get the paper, and the door shut behind her. And she couldn't
there's
get back
a lockbox on her door, but she couldn't remember the combination to it. And so she was just so upset. Aww. And I opened the door, and I tried to help, and I said, we'll figure this out. We got it. And we started walking back toward her place, and you came through the door.
I came up the steps, and then we figured out, and the lockbox security was the year she was born.
Which was a
1919.
1919. And then you began to get closer and closer.
Yeah.
And at first, I wanted to protect you, because she was becoming like your mom, and you were becoming like her daughter.
But in a different way, not like my mother, that I was trying to substitute her for my mother, because nobody could take my mother's place. But she was just... But obviously... She knew about all the old stuff, and I like all old things. I like old Hollywood. I like old clothes. I like old everything. And she had so much in her head to talk about. And I feared for you, because I didn't want you to go through another loss of your mother. That's why I didn't want to get... That's why I didn't see her that much. And I think it was
tearing you up, because you knew the clock is obviously ticking, because you're way past what most people would look at as an expiration date.
She was in great health back then.
Yeah.
And but then I stopped seeing her that much, because I knew the more that I was seeing her, the more I could see that she was not as spry as she once was, even though she was doing the bike every day. I just think you got
fearful that you're getting so attached that it was going to wreck you again.
But I would call her a lot, and we would talk on the phone a lot.
But back to the old saying, better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. And I kept telling you, this is good karma for you, because you're making whatever the end of her life is.
Yeah.
Again, she could have lived for 10 more years knowing
Yeah.
her because her skin looked like
she was like
flawless. She had better skin
porcelain.
than I
Oh my
have.
God. She had
It
clear
was unbelievable.
porcelain, never went in the sun.
Yeah.
She was just beautiful.
And her spirit was still high.
Oh, she was funny.
And she was very lucid, and
she knew everything.
She didn't lose any touch with anything.
She told me if she didn't do the bike every day, her bones would fall apart. She said
she got on her exercise bike every day at 105 for a half
an hour on the bike.
That's what you need to know.
I'd say, Adele, did you do the bike today? And she'd say, only 25 minutes. I'd say, Adele, 25 minutes. She goes, if I don't do it, my bones will fall apart.
Well,
yeah.
There you go.
Lesson to
That's all you need to know. Well, I'm sorry you had to
Yeah.
go through it again, but I'm proud of you and in awe of how much you gave to her because you made the end of her life so much higher quality of life.
I think in a way she couldn't believe that I wanted to be friends with her. And she kept saying to me, I can't believe, what can I do for you?
Okay.
I love talking to you. I'd say, Adele, just be my friend. We're just friends. And she was so thrilled we were friends. And it didn't matter age. It didn't matter. Age doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's just about the person.
She was a very special human who touched her life just as much as you touched her life.
Yeah. And I always said we're going to be friends till the end.
And I believe Adele is watching this episode right now
I hope
and
so.
smiling and so appreciative that you gave her so much.
When my book came out, she was the first one that said to me, she read a book a week. She loved Danielle Steele novels. That was her favorite. And I tried to reach out to Danielle Steele to get an autograph. I wanted Danielle to call her. And I reached her publicist. And the publicist said, well, she's very busy, but what I could do is send an autographed book. And she sent Adele an autographed books because Danielle, she loved Danielle Steele novels. They're kind of like Jackie Collins. They're romance and, and she read a book a week. And when my book came out, she said, I have to get it on Kindle. She made her son call me and have me tell them how to get the book on Kindle. And she read my book immediately. So she was just the best.
She was the best. We love you, Adele.
Yeah.
Forever.
Forever.
Okay, the other development in our lives here recently was that I had my old friend and Ernestine's old friend, Stephen A. Smith, on my podcast this past Monday. You were like a sister to Stephen A.
Sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law.
You were like brothers.
Yeah. I worked with Stephen A. for almost 20 years. I did leave him and ESPN in 2016 to come out here to Fox in LA to start a new show on FS1. And Stephen A. used to visit us so many times in the first 4 years that we were here. Then he pushed very hard for ESPN to bring me back in 2020 when my first contract was up. Which I badly wanted to do, but Fox matched ESPN's offer, and I had it in cold, hard writing that I wasn't aware of, and I had to stay.
Right.
So you listened as we taped my reunion with Stephen A. the other day. How did it come off to you?
To me, and again, knowing Stephen A. from years ago and through all the ESPN days, and we were all pretty close. It was very heartwarming when I listened and I watched you tape. It was bittersweet. I was happy to see you guys together, but then there was a sadness because of all the friendship that I knew you guys had for so long, and he was such a part of our lives for 12 years. I don't know how many years. 10 years.
Yeah.
It was.
You and I met in 2005, so from 5 until whatever, 20, so that's 15 years.
It was Skip and Stephen A. and Skip. And it was just it was really beautiful to watch you guys because it was like no time had passed and you picked back up. But then it was very sad. I actually had tears in my eyes because it was just a moment in time that, I don't know. You think time passes. Time passes, and there's not a day someone doesn't come up to me on the street and say, hey, are those guys getting back together? Skip and Stephen A. Are they still going to do something? Because it was a moment in time that will never be again.
Never
in that
be
sense.
So circumstances change, but people don't change.
No.
And
true friendships. I mean, I have friends that, not like the housewives of New York or Beverly Hills, that you have ups and downs with, but you're still friends. And underneath it all, even my sister, who I can fight with a million times a day, and I could pick the phone up after we have a giant fight, and it's like, forget the fight, move on. And that's what you guys have, is a special bond.
yeah.
And
we did have a couple of battles over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But
you've always had, throughout even ESPN.
Hey, we always
you would call me in New York and say, I just had a fight with Stephen A. And then Stephen A. would call me and go, do you believe what he just said to me? So it was like I was in the middle of the two boys fighting. But even through the fighting, there was always love and respect. And I still think that's what there is.
So what was a little jarring to me was, in a good way, I had no idea what to expect when we started.
Well, it wasn't scripted. It was just you guys together.
No, we just went. And I had an idea of where I wanted to go, but it all depended on kind of his mood and how he was going to take to it. And I didn't know if we wanted to go back into battle or if we wanted to just talk.
You didn't want to do a full debate show, because
No.
then nobody wants to see a full debate show of going at each other, debating sports, because that's part of it. But there was also a friendship that was part of it as well.
Yeah. So I think what came clear from it was that the chemistry that we had and still have is so special that you could pick it right back up, because it's truly from God to me. It is God sent, God blessed, where you can't fake it.
No.
You can't teach it. You can't coach it. You can't sort of force it.
No.
It either happens or it doesn't. And we reminisced a little bit about how first time we were with Jim Rome on his old show called The Last Word, and we were the wingmen and he was in the middle, and he's just like caught in a hardcore, fast-paced tennis match back and forth. And I knew from day one, the first time we ever went back and forth, this works. Because he does respect me. I do love everything about him. And even though he had this sort of Bronx bluster to him, I'm from Oklahoma City, it just meshed and clicked, and we anticipated each other to where we could just, it's like boom, 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 boom. And it's like you're dancing at a very high level. You love Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. I don't know which one was Ginger Rogers, but we're that kind of ballroom dancing,
in sync.
Right?
Yeah, but how many times do you watch a show? I know I watch the Today Show, I watch Good Morning America, I watch CBS Morning Show, I watch CNN, I watch everything. And you can tell that there are two people, they're the anchors, they do not have anything, and they don't get along. And there's a lot of fakeness. You can tell fakeness on the air. That's why the morning show with Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon did so well, because it was pulling back the curtain on what morning show is really like. And you guys had a real connection and friendship that came across on the air. And you could go to kill each other on the air, but then you stop when the segment stops, and you could still.
I told
be
him from the
friends.
start, I do take this very seriously. I don't take me that seriously. And whatever we're doing on air, when we go to commercial break, I'm going to let it completely go. And through the commercial break, I'm going to just refocus on what our next debate is. And I will never, ever take it home. Sometimes he would get upset.
Well, sometimes you would take it home, and then both of you, like I said, would call me and let me know what the problem was. But you could end it at the end of the topic.
But I never got upset with him on the air. I would get upset with him like through the evening. He'd be difficult. Like, what are you talking about?
But you would be difficult too. So it was both of you together. Sorry, I don't mean to bring that up.
What?
I know you think you're perfect.
So
you're not
she
perfect.
would referee us, and he would trust her to put me back in my place or whatever.
Because I could see it from a different perspective. You only see you, he only sees him, and then I see it both. So, and sometimes you were wrong. I hate to say it, but a lot of the time. But
really not.
Yeah,
but that's
whatever.
okay. That's okay. I listened to her, and then I listened to him, and he did trust. And we talked about this when we reunited, but we had a trust where you're never going to push your partner over the edge.
No, well, you don't want them to fail. You're doing a show with them,
Yeah.
and you got a buddy. It's like being in a foxhole with a guy.
Yeah. So it did make me miss what I had, because it's
a
once in a lifetime, literally once in a lifetime. And I thank God that he and I connected, because the odds are maybe you wouldn't connect because nobody would see that. But he got
special.
Trust me, he got pushed out the back door at ESPN in 2008, 9, I think, in that period. Do you remember how hard I fought?
I remember.
With all the bosses at ESPN to get him back.
One time,
I campaigned. I knocked on every door. I would try, and they would look at me like, really? Because we hadn't done that much that they were aware of at that point. And they should have listened sooner than later, because it took until the end of the 2011 football season. It was really early 2012 before we ever got back on air as a partnership, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I miss you.
Special.
I miss you, Stephen A. And she misses you too.
Love you, Stephen.
And we need to go to dinner here pretty soon. Okay, let's get to the next question. This is Thomas and Gabrielle from Seattle who ask, my fiance and I watch your show every week. We appreciate that. She's not as into sports as I am, but she loves it just the same, talking about our show.
Thank you.
Looking back after all these years, what advice would you give your younger selves before marriage? Our younger selves before marriage, what advice would you give yourself, knowing what you know now about how difficult I am?
I think what I would say to myself is, make sure you can live with someone, definitely, 7 days a week. I don't know if you have to try it out or you have to do it like a trial run, but I think that it's really important to see if you are compatible in the sense of beyond just going out to dinner with somebody or going to a movie with somebody or spending one night with somebody. That's number one in my book.
Okay. I will second that emotion and take it a level deeper, because in the end, the romantic part is important, but it's not the priority. Mm-hmm. The physical, the initial, it's not important. Whatever attraction you have in the beginning won't work long term in the relationship. You have to like as well as love.
Right.
And
respect someone.
You do. And here's the key for me. Mm-hmm. It's the old idea of you better be able to take long drives with that person and sustain a conversation for 4, 5, 8, 10 hours straight, or it won't last.
Yeah.
And the key to us, the one thing I can say in our favor, we got issues, but the one thing I can tell you about this relationship is that to this day, we've been together almost 20 years. Right. We still don't like to go out to dinner with other couples. No, we still avoid it. We'll do it when kind of quote unquote necessary, but not that.
Sometimes we want to.
Sometimes we want to, but
it's not the basis of our relationship.
But for the most part, for the most part, we cherish our Friday nights together, and sometimes our Saturday nights, depending on how many sports I have to watch. But the other Saturday night, I had to watch Lakers and Celtics. Yeah. And you go do your thing back in your office or whatever you're going to do. Yeah. And I thought maybe you'd watch it with me, but you weren't that into it.
Sometimes I just don't feel like it.
I know, but it was Lakers and Celtics. I thought maybe you'd be into that. Do. Okay, so she went and did other stuff. I did it. Then I did
a little burned out on it.
Okay, I made a video.
You watch it because you have to do that. That's and you love it. It's your life. I watch it. Sometimes I'll watch the game even while you're watching where you are. I'll watch the game by myself.
She'll keep up with it.
And I'll text you. I can't believe he just did that.
And you did keep up with what was happening in Lakers Celtics the other night, but you didn't sit with me.
No, because I want to do other things. But I think you have to like someone and you have to enjoy being with them beyond just hanging out with them for a couple of hours. And I think that you have to really get to know who somebody is before you plunge ahead.
Yeah. So all I can tell you is after almost 20 years, I just love spending time with her.
Thanks.
I love
Appreciate
doing
that. Well, I
things
like
with
hanging with
her
you
that we
too.
do. Like we take Hazel to the
Yeah.
mall. I wear a hat and
Yeah. Well, we
sunglasses,
go
whatever.
other
But
places.
we just
We
have
like the
our
movies.
we
Done
have
a
our
lot of stuff.
rituals that we do, and I'm not bored. I'm not.
Yeah.
And we go out occasionally with other couples, and we realize halfway through the dinner that the only way they can communicate with each other is playing off the
A
other
lot of people
couple
need to be
across
around a lot of
a
people.
lot of
I know
people
people that take vacations with. Well, we have friends that take vacations with
with big groups,
six
and we're
other
like, what?
couples.
Because that's the
Damn.
time, vacation time, I would only want to
Right. You
be
want to
with
hang with
her.
one person. You don't want to be
Yeah.
with six other
And I don't want to
couples.
do exactly what they want to do.
Yeah.
So,
It's just, and I think personally, I have friends that only believe in dating. If they're Jewish, they only date Jewish guys or whatever. I don't think that matters that much to me. Maybe unless you're very, very religious, but I think it depends. My mother always said, I don't care what somebody is as long as they treat you well. And that to me is more important than I never ask what somebody's religion is. I don't really care. I don't care. I don't care where they went to college. I don't care about any of those things. For me, I just care if the person is nice and if they're going to be somebody I think is going to be respectful,
yeah.
and then I would date them.
Well, religion does matter more to me.
Well, it
And it was
matters more
important.
to you because you were raised that way. But to me, I wasn't
But
raised in
I
a
wasn't
heavy
raised
duty.
that way. I chose it. I mean,
Okay.
I did choose it
Well,
because
you
I could have
chose it.
chosen whatever I wanted because nobody was pushing me to go to church.
Yeah, but when
I
you
just
were
go.
younger, you were part. Your mother took you to church with your brother and your sister.
Yeah, but there came a point when I was 16 when I was I could choose on my own. And remember, because my home was a wreck, I chose at that point to not go anymore to my Methodist church, and I started going with my
Right.
friend Craig to his Baptist church.
Right, but the thing is, the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
I am not the same way as you,
No, but
and yet we are together.
But I needed to know that you do believe in a higher power.
I believe in a higher power,
And that
but I don't believe exactly everything
not
you believe.
exactly.
So what I'm saying is, it doesn't mean then you should discount me.
No.
That's what I'm saying. People have to think a little bit out of the box. If somebody is attracted to that, they're attractive, and they think, oh, that person is maybe, they're not the same religion as me. I don't know. I think you got to give it up at some point.
This is the key. Beneath the exterior, whatever the exterior is, not that you don't look beautiful
whatever,
today,
thank you.
but you better be able to see beneath that into the heart. Her heart is good. That's
Thank
all
you.
I know. Her
Thank you.
character is high.
And you need somebody who's going to be there for you.
She will fight with me, for me. She's loyal, maybe to
loyal to a fault,
but to the dying day, she's loyal.
But I'm that way with people I care about. But I think it's about being with someone that you know will be there for you.
Yeah. Okay, so that's our 2 cents.
Yeah, that's my
We will continue this topic as these shows progress. Okay, so you brought this up to me the other day. You brought up, weirdly, how different I am around you in quote-unquote real life than I am on air when I'm expressing opinions or debating sports.
Yeah.
So go ahead and pursue that. Psychoanalyze me on air now.
I think for as long as I've been with you, people, when they find out I'm with you, they come up to me and they say, is he the same way he is on air? Is he the same way?
Or how do you live with that guy?
Does he debate you all the time? And I say, no. But when we debate, I do win. But
sometimes
you're a different person.
The only time.
Well, you're different because you're very quiet, off air, off camera, off video, off everything. You're very different off when the light is not on. You're more introverted. You're more quiet. If we go to a restaurant and I ask for something well done and they don't bring the food well done and I want to send it back, you're like, why don't you just eat it? Don't make a big deal out of it.
Well,
and I'm like, no, I'm not going to. I'm going to eat it. I'm not going to eat this.
The wait staff knows who I am,
No,
and so I don't want them talking
I'm just
about
using that
his
as an
wife
example.
is a nightmare.
Well, it's not a nightmare. I'm paying money for something. Why am I going to eat something? But not that. It's not about the persona of I don't want people to know that I made them. You're very different than I am. If we're in an elevator, I don't mind talking to somebody next to me. You would be like shunned in the corner, like you don't want anything. No, don't. I'd say, see that guy? What guy? You're very different. And so you have a different, it's not a fakeness on air, because when you talk about sports, you love it, and that's your passion, and you live for that. But it doesn't translate off air what people would think.
Okay. So what do they always say about a lot of actors, starting with Robert De Niro? Not that I'm Robert De Niro, but they say off air, he's completely different than the characters he plays.
Comedians, they're funny, and most of them are depressed off camera.
Or they can be introverted. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I get that, and I do have kind of a shyness to me.
You do. And I do too, but yours is different than mine.
Okay, you're different because you're more of a loner than people see.
I could
because
live on an
everybody
island.
in my life who knows her says, "Oh, she's a dynamo. She takes over every room she walks into."
It's a forced
okay,
one.
But there's some actor/actress in you where you come out and
I can be in the moment.
You're
for what that moment is
extremely
gonna
gregarious, and then you're very introverted. Because I watch her. Like if I'm watching the Celtics and the Lakers on Saturday night, she can go be by herself and she's extremely content.
I just like to read or look up old Hollywood stuff and read about stars from the 40s.
Okay. And so that's you. And I accept that. And I love that about you.
Where I have friends that I know, they would, if they were with someone like you, they would be out the door in 1 second with their friends. They have to go out and do something.
Yeah.
They would not be sitting home on a Saturday night if
okay,
we were
well,
watching
this is
a game.
why we work.
Yeah.
This is why it clicks.
Because I don't have any
us.
interest. I mean, maybe I'd want to go if there's a movie or something.
She has a lot of friends, but she doesn't hang out with her friends. She talks to them on the phone.
Yeah, I talk to them on the phone. I don't
all day long.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't care about.
But no, we girls' night out.
No, I'm not into.
And I don't ever do boys' night out. I never have. I don't go play poker with the guys.
But you've never been that way, and I've never been this way.
Okay.
I'm very much, I could live on an island.
So to your point, think about how I was raised. I was the firstborn to a mother who was a flat-out dynamo. She was a force of nature who took over every room she walked into. She was very loud and extremely outgoing and just blabbed wherever we were. And the worst place I ever was with my mother was in an elevator.
I remember you telling me.
Okay? Because we'd get in the elevator, and if there are 10 people in there, she would be asking every person or telling every person. It really wasn't about them. It was about her. Well, my son made straight A's or whatever.
See, I'm not
did.
like that.
Yeah.
Like if I'm in an elevator with somebody and they have a nice shirt on I'll just say, hey, I like your shirt or something like that. But I would
never do that.
Right. I wouldn't ask them or say, oh, you know what I'm doing? I'm not like that. I'm not like your mother. She agrees. But I think that you just have a different persona that people would be surprised, at home. But that's why even doing this, people have seen a different side of you that they've never seen before. Yeah. And this is the real side of you.
Yeah.
Which is a little
but they're both real.
No, they are both real. No, I don't mean real like you're acting with your other stuff, but that's you too.
Speaking of my mother, I also got her in me in a good way because my mother was a really good public speaker. She would have blown you. You didn't ever get to see her in action.
No, I know, but I saw your mother in real life.
My mother talked her way in. I still don't understand how she did this, but there was cable access television in Oklahoma City when I was growing up. And somehow she talked her way into being the moderator of a weekly show about Oklahoma City public schools. They would have the school board president on.
But I'm sure it was more about her than...
She probably started telling
your
stories
mother,
about her.
She just wanted to show her new dress.
I know, but I would sit in my living room. At that point, I was a little kid, so I was probably lying on the floor in the living room. Right. And I would say, how did she do this? She talked her way into that. She was a bit of a conniver, your mother. She was a bit of a conniver.
Right. I'm not that kind of person.
So she forced me, because her mother had forced her, to take public speaking lessons, which, thank you God, thank you Mom,
that
for
helped you in your career.
It did, because they forced me, my mother and grandmother forced me to give my, recite my orations or my poetry in front of big groups. My grandmother was in a thing called Eastern Star, and she became the grand worthy matron of Oklahoma.
But you were also in Tom Thumb Wedding.
I was in Tom Thumb Wedding. So I'm the firstborn.
I think that's the craziest
And I was
thing.
kind of a cute kid, I guess. Have you seen
in the
pictures?
Tom Thumb Weddings, they dress you up.
Like
I never
a
heard
little
of this
man,
before.
and I had to marry a little woman. I was like 3. and I still have the pictures of this. It's pretty scary.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it's pretty
It's
creepy.
the craziest thing. Do they still
Okay.
do that?
I don't know. I have no
I
idea.
never heard of them. Maybe
Okay,
that wasn't a New York thing.
Okay, but the point was, I could reach for my mother inside me,
Yeah.
even though I didn't like my mother, and yet if you put me in front of a crowd or at school, if I had to stand up before the class, I'd just take it over.
That. You're good. I mean, I've seen you. I've seen you when we went to Vanderbilt when they inducted you and your Oklahoma City school system inducted you. I've seen you speak in front of how many people were there? Like
300-400. I don't know.
No, there was more than 300-400.
Maybe
1,000 or something. The big, but you can do that without thinking. Like when I was doing the PR, working for the agencies, and I would have to do the presentation. I'm okay once I get up there, but having to prepare,
I understand.
I'm nervous. You have it down pat. You're really good at that.
Thank you.
I mean, amazing.
Okay. Thank Levita,
and
my
also
mother.
you can memorize, which I write down lists every day of my life. You have like this same thing that Mary Lou Henner has, that photographic memory, but it's
That's
called
a whole nother
it's called
thing.
something
That's
else. But
autobiographical.
yeah,
memory.
you can remember.
I can remember everything from when I was 3 years old. I know what
But
I
you
got
can
for
also-
Christmas when I was 3.
But you can
It's
memorize
like yesterday.
your notes.
I can.
So that's whatever. But
It's flash memory. That's different.
I can't do that to save my life. But
Okay,
you are
so
a different
the
person.
point is, I can be very different, but I think you like the guy off camera pretty much. If I were always the guy on camera,
God,
I don't think
couldn't
you'd
take
be
that.
with me.
Oh my God, I couldn't take
Right?
having
But
to
I
fight
can
you
be,
24 hours
and
a
I
day.
do like
as it
to
is
argue,
now, I
so,
fight you 12
yeah.
hours a day, not 24.
Okay, let's go to another question from Kat from, ready for this, Dublin, Ireland, who
Wow.
asks,
Always wanted to go to Ireland.
have you ever gone on any foreign travel before? And if not, where would you like to visit the most?
We want to go to Ireland. Can we come visit? We can go visit her.
Yeah, real quick, it's interesting. We get questions like this every single week from literally all over the world.
Yeah.
From Australia
Egypt.
and New Zealand and
Egypt.
well, I was going to say,
yeah.
but we got England and
Yeah.
Ireland
Yeah.
and then even Egypt. We got
yeah.
a question from Egypt.
Yeah.
Okay, so and thank you for those.
We've traveled.
Yeah.
I've traveled.
We
but
appreciate
we've not traveled
we
internationally
appreciate
together.
the global impact
Yeah,
that
the
we've
reach.
had here and the worldwide reach that the show's achieving. So where would you like to go?
I'd like to go to Ireland. I've never been to Ireland. My good friend Corinne owns a place in Ireland, and she tells me how beautiful it is. And whenever we watch
Ditto.
any
The
shows
Emerald
and movies,
Isle, I
oh
would
my
like
God,
to see it.
I would like to go to Ireland. Number one.
Okay,
That's
your
my number one.
That's your number
yeah,
one.
I would
Really,
like to go
that's
to Ireland.
interesting.
I love England. I love Paris. I've been to Paris. I've been to Italy, but Ireland I've never been to.
Okay, well, we need to go to Ireland.
Okay. And you? Ireland?
Speaking of Ireland, one of our favorite old movies, it's not that old,
God.
but it's from 1991.
91.
It's The Commitments. If you haven't seen it,
Best
if you like
movie.
anything rock and
I
roll.
wonder if She's had seen it from
I
Dublin.
don't know.
Because they were
Kat. Have you seen The Commitments? Because they're from Dublin, I believe.
yeah.
And the character is Andrew Strong plays. He's a great. What a
great singer.
What pipes
Amazing.
he's got.
Oh my God.
But he plays Deco in this, and it's about an aspiring rock and roll group. They play
From a
bluesy
poor
sort of
area.
from very poor back streets of Dublin.
Yeah.
And they're on the rise.
And their mission is to make it.
By the way, the showstopper is the song "Try a Little
Oh
Tenderness."
my God.
And they're trying to make it. And I'm not giving the movie away.
No.
You should check it out
Watch if you like music.
Yeah, but they're trying to get the great Wilson Pickett to
Who was
come
one
to
of the
one of their
best.
shows. So he's playing in Dublin,
Yeah.
playing his concert and his gig, and then he has somehow agreed that he will stop by their gig.
Their little
they're playing a little
that they're
club
playing.
after his big gig, and so this is
good.
that they're going to make it. And I won't give away what
You have
happens
to watch
after
it.
that, but you just have to watch
Just
it.
for
And
the
it's
music alone.
the showstopper. Try a Little Tenderness.
We even bought the
is-
soundtrack. Didn't we have the soundtrack to The Commitments?
Yeah.
And each one, they ended up doing more, going into acting, the group that played in The Commitments.
And then one of our favorite groups from the 60s, underrated, is Three Dog Night. and Corey Wells does Try a Little
Oh,
Tenderness, and it
man.
just there's an album out there
Yeah.
called Live Three Dog Night Live at the Forum, which is out here in LA, where they still play a lot of gigs. A lot of groups play there. It's where it was the fabulous Forum that the Showtime Lakers played in before they moved downtown, obviously, to Crypto, now Crypto.
Yeah.
What used to be Staples, but the Forum, Live at the Forum in 1969. Listen, this album is flawless, and they played it live, and it's just like, how did you do that?
And, I mean, people know Three Dog Night from that song, Jeremiah Was a Bullfrog.
No, okay, they sold out at that point.
And
they went
that's
pop.
no good, but
this is hardcore, blues-based rock and roll. It is just, they will knock you off your seat.
That album, can't stop playing.
Corey Wells could
sing the phone book,
but he could sing.
He could sing the phone book.
Okay. All right, this is a YouTube question. Oh, by the way, I didn't answer the question quickly. Where else would I like to go besides Ireland? I've always wanted to go to Russia, and yet it scares me because I don't know if I would trust going. I never know what's going to happen. I wouldn't want to be in Russia when bad things happen.
I don't know. I'd go right now.
Okay,
I've never
because
been to Russia.
I want to see Moscow. I want to see St. Petersburg. It's just something about
the history of
it. The gravity of that country and what it has meant played off our country that I would like to experience. And then you've been to Paris, and I haven't been to Paris. I've been to London, but I would still like to go to Paris.
All right, let's do it.
So we got all these
Got to visit all our friends.
We got too many shows to do. Okay, YouTube question from Tommy Fleur 7649, who asks, I'd like to request a segment where you review movies made before 2000 that received too much or too little acclaim. That's a very interesting question, speaking of the commitments. And just for the record, last week I did release my all-time top 10 movies. I did it, my list of the top 10. You can find my arguments for it on my YouTube channel if you're so inclined. But 8 of my top 10 were before 2000. They qualify for what the suggestion is. And here's what I, just very quickly, I went in order. That's my list. Number 1, Chinatown. Number 2, Wizard of Oz. Number 3, Casablanca. 4, Training Day. That's from 2001. Thank you, Denzel, for that. Won the Academy Award. Number 5 is The Graduate. Number 6 is Annie Hall. Number 7 is Blazing Saddles, the only comedy on my list. And it's not real. It's a scathing racial commentary.
It's really great.
Number 8 is The Hustler, which simply has the greatest closing scene I've ever seen in any movie. Paul Newman. Oh, and Jackie Gleason and George C. Scott. Number 9 is Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, because it's my all-time favorite Western, and hers. And we have artwork from that all over our living room walls. And then from 2004 is my number 10, but it's The Passion of the Christ.
Mel Gibson, Jim Caviezel.
So, by the way, quickly, speaking of Casablanca from 1942, Humphrey Bogart, the great Humphrey Bogart. Maybe you don't know him, you should check him out. He later did a film noir that got very little acclaim at the time, but was actually closer to Casablanca than anyone gave it credit for until recently. Now, Time Magazine has included this movie in its all-time top 100, and it's also acclaimed as one of the top film noirs of all time. So last Saturday night, just on a lark, just on a whim.
Well, my friend told me.
I was going to say, but we watched this movie on the recommendation from your friend Mark Myers of the Wall Street Journal.
Wall Street Journal, arts and entertainment contributor. He's written a bunch of books on rock and roll. He knows everything about music.
Okay, so it's called In a Lonely Place, which is a terrible title for a great movie. So what grade would you give In a Lonely Place?
I would give that an A-.
A-?
Because?
I think it was,
first of all, I love Humphrey Bogart, and it was set in old Hollywood, Beverly Hills, wherever. Yeah. And the costumes were amazing to me. They were just incredible. And I think the story was great. It was almost a play. There was only like maybe there were 8 characters, but and Humphrey Bogart, he acts like a nut, which you've never seen him act like a nut. This. He's usually a detective or whatever. And I just thought it was great. And I love her, the lead. What was her name again?
Gloria Graham.
Gloria Graham.
It
I
was
thought
really
she
the
was,
only big thing she ever
yeah,
did.
but she was beautiful. Oh my God. Beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know if she quite measured up, and I'm not
I
sure
think
she
she
was
was good.
Casablanca great.
Well, she was different than Ingrid Bergman,
yeah.
but I think it just worked. And it builds up, and the more that it
And
builds
he
up,
is a complete
you start
psycho,
seeing
you
her,
think.
he's kind of a
and
nut.
He's being accused of a murder, and you're not sure whether he's going to end up murdering Gloria Graham.
Right.
Who
she lives in the same. It's the house. The
neighbor,
apartment building is like a Melrose Place.
And they fall in lust, and then they fall in love. I think.
I'm telling you,
and
it was good.
It's
worth
very
watching.
good.
Worth watching.
Okay, for once, I'm going to go with your A minus.
Yeah.
Just because I'm not sure she could quite measure up to him, but who could? But he is a flat out powerhouse.
Oh man, and he's so good looking in this. Even though he was older,
he
had a roughness
she was
about him.
just like captivating.
Yeah. He's sexy and hot.
But why would you call this movie In a Lonely Place? That was what I think it was doomed by its title. In a Lonely Place. It's about weird. Hollywood. He's a scriptwriter and a very successful screenwriter in Hollywood who's kind of down on his luck, and he drinks too much, and he fights too much, and he's pretty crazy. Yeah. But it's riveting from the first scene.
I said he needed a Ray Donovan to help him out of this movie. He did. We loved Ray Donovan, which he was
his
a
agent
fixer.
Is sort of a Ray Donovan, but can't really fix
not as much as Ray Donovan.
All right, this is Cody from Bismarck, North Dakota. Wow. North Dakota. Who asks, on a boring Friday, Saturday, Sunday evening when there's no football, what's your go-to movie that both of you love to watch? Like, what's if we just don't have anything? Yeah. Okay, here's the first point. We don't have boring Friday, Saturday, Sundays.
He's saying boring because you have no sports.
Okay, but it's rare that I have no sports.
Of course it's rare.
It's just rare.
Every day of there's not a day in this calendar year that he doesn't have sports.
It's just
whether it's like girls softball in Oklahoma City, he has sports to watch.
I watch that.
Yeah, he watches it.
Really good.
Please.
Underrated.
That's where I'm definitely out. But whatever. Go-to movie?
Okay, if we just have to reach for one.
Right. Pink Panther.
Really? Strikes Again?
Pink Panther Strikes Again.
Okay.
And
we just happened to watch
and we
this
like
the other night.
Anchorman.
Okay, for me, if we're just really stuck for something and we've had a rough run and we just need to escape.
Mindless, yeah.
Okay, Anchorman, for me, and it didn't make my top 10 because it's just frivolous. It's just silliness.
Yeah.
By the way, Anchorman and Revenge of the Pink Panther Strikes Again. Yeah. Peter Sellers and Will Ferrell have something in common in these characters, Ron Burgundy and Clouseau, is that they're both pompous fools.
Yeah, they live in their own world.
Yeah, and they're delusional fools. They think they're really something. They're very special, and they're buffoons. And that's what makes it fun. Yeah, that's what makes it funny.
And Talladega Nights, we love.
We do. But Anchorman, I could watch tonight and laugh if I just want to laugh.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, if I want to escape, Die Hard's my go-to.
Die Hard for you.
Okay,
yeah.
And I love Caddyshack probably more than you do because it's so golf based.
And if I want to escape, I put on White Christmas.
Okay, all right, White Christmas or anything Hallmark.
Or I put on Hallmark, or I put on my other favorite is Jane Fonda in Sunday in New York, which is a good old one. But I can go into an old list of movies.
I think they did 4 of those, but. Okay, the Pink Panther Strikes Again. Trust me on this.
Funniest movie ever.
I laugh harder at that movie. Yeah. We just watched it. Yeah. And there are 5 scenes in it that I promise you I'm fall down laughing. And
we both are.
It doesn't matter how recently we've watched it. It's
kind of like watching I Love Lucy. Like the Lucys, you could still watch every episode
laugh,
and
but
you
not
laugh.
like this is uproarious. Because you know me, I'm not a real big laugh out loud guy.
No, you're not. But you actually laugh. I have witnessed you laughing.
Okay, because
it's funny.
When he goes to investigate this kidnapping at this mansion.
I mean, it's just the old time.
He walks in and he's trying to scope out the house, and he winds up in the gymnasium with the exercise room.
It's just
and trust me.
You have to watch it to get it.
Clouseau on the parallel bars, he says, it's all coming back to me. He's doing the parallel bars. And I'm not going to tell you in case you watch it. But
you have to watch it.
I fall off the couch and fall on the floor.
Funny.
And then he interviews the staff.
As the possible suspects of a murder.
No, it's not a murder. You're doing what he
murder.
did.
Oh, that's right.
Murder? Did you say, who said murder? I didn't say murder.
Right, that's the line.
No,
in
it's
the
a
movie.
kidnapping.
Kidnapping.
Okay, they're kidnapped. They're taken, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but he goes around the staff and he's a fool, and they know he's a fool.
Right.
But then he tries to kill a bee. He's got a mace stuck on his hand.
It's just insane.
Yeah, and our favorite line for the movie is, "That was a priceless Steinway," and he says, "Not anymore."
Right.
Okay.
So
Because he wrecks this beautiful piano. Okay. But
you have to
Okay, then the all-time fall down funny. If you don't laugh in this scene, you don't have a funny bone in your body.
Right.
But Clouseau tries to impersonate a dentist to infiltrate the castle of the bad guy named Dreyfus, who's his former boss.
Right.
And he's in disguise, but it's hot, and his disguise starts dripping, and then he's trying to pull Dreyfus's tooth, but he's not a dentist. And he has no idea what he's doing, and he's wearing thick glasses so he can't see because he's in disguise.
Plus he's sniffing,
and then they get the laughing gas.
Yeah.
The laughing gas.
Right.
So they start laughing, and you start laughing,
and you
and
can
it just
imagine
goes
what's going to
crazy.
happen when he's going to pull his tooth.
Yeah. Okay.
You have
it's
to watch
funny.
the movie. Yes,
it
I'm
is
telling them to
very
watch the
funny.
movie. They have to watch the movie.
For us just to say, okay, we're out. We're going to escape. That's it.
That's it.
Okay. Now for quickly one of my pet peeves about you.
Oh gosh.
Okay, we're both fighters.
Gotta sit up for this one.
At heart.
Yeah.
Which is why you and I fight against each other way too much. But to me, you have a little bigger chip on your shoulder than I have on mine, even though I'm known for fighting on shows, defending my opinions. But it just seems like you pick more fights in our everyday life than I do. When I fight, I can really go off. But it seems like you're constantly picking battles that don't really need to be picked if you want to win the war. Like there are times when I just say, just let that go.
The problem is you don't know how to fight. Again,
how?
I don't
fight.
Because you don't know how to
I'm going
fight.
for the throat.
You can't fight. You think you have to fight. It becomes an epic battle.
Nuclear.
There's just no. I grew up in a house where, like Woody Allen, you just. What are you doing that for? What are you doing that for? What are you doing for? That's a fight. But you have to have this major catastrophe where you don't talk to somebody for 2 weeks. I don't do that. So little fights are better than one giant fight. You have to learn how to fight better.
I have to learn how to fight?
It's like
you
a little
fight or you don't.
No, it's not.
But you need to sometimes calm down and say, okay, that's enough.
I don't think a little fight is a big problem.
The other night, she didn't like something that got written about me, and I know the reporter, and I did make an issue out of it with the reporter, and then.
Well, I don't like. First of all, I have a background of PR, so I know what media is, and it's in my blood.
You knew he was wrong,
right? And I knew somebody is wrong.
And so she gets on the phone with him, which is fine,
right?
And then.
What?
His boss gets on the phone with her.
Well, I'm not going to back down because when I know I'm right, I'm right.
And then it got personal, and I'm like, stop it.
Right.
Just,
but I
that's
wasn't
enough.
going to stop it. And then, because when somebody does something wrong, then they need to be called out for it. Yeah. And so I called him out for it, and then I called her out for it, and I told her to put her boss on the phone, and she said he's at a wedding. And I said, well, then get his boss. No, then it got further and further.
That's ridiculous.
That's a fighting
I'm saying that's enough. Like, this is going nowhere slowly or quickly.
Media people, I understand what they're doing, but there is a line that is drawn that you can't cross over that line. So anyway, but people don't care about that. But you have to learn how to fight better. That's what I say.
Yeah, I just wish every once in a while you could back off and say, no, this one doesn't really matter that much.
Well, my mother had a great saying. I would call my mother when you did something crummy, and I would call my mother. I'd say, do you believe he just did this? And she would say, you know what? Think about this. Is it really that big of a deal to not talk to him for this? Or it's going to blow over. She would say, it's not that big of a deal. Let it blow over. And my friend Adele, when I said to Adele, what's the secret to being 105? She said to me, not to let everything stress you out.
Yeah, don't sweat the small stuff, as they say, right?
If we could all live by that, that would be a great mantra.
Point made.
Yeah.
Okay. This is Melissa from Gate City, Virginia, who asks, Skip and Ernestine, do you still sleep separate? If so, Who does Hazel sleep with? I think she's about to fall asleep here.
Hazel.
But okay. So
for all those years that you did Undisputed here in New York, I lived in New York City. You lived in Connecticut doing ESPN, so we didn't live in the same place. Moving here, you got up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was not going to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, even though subconsciously I knew you were getting up. So I slept in a different room, and you slept in that room during the week because I didn't want to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay. And now depends on what your schedule is, because sometimes there are games now that run late, and you want to do that, and then you have to do a taping, and I don't want to be bothered. I want to sleep. I need some sleep sometime. I went 8 years with sleeping 2.5 hours.
Weirdly,
I get up
earlier than I do now.
I get up much earlier.
Because I'm more of a night owl, because my career was more night owlish until the last 20 years when I had to get up very early.
Yeah, but the 8 years living here while you did Undisputed was brutal.
It was 2 o'clock in the morning
Tyler,
without fail.
Your executive producer, he had to take sleeping pills because we couldn't sleep. It was a brutal 2 o'clock in the morning. You'd leave at 4 o'clock. I would try to sleep 4 o'clock. You text me, I'm here. Then I try to sleep for an hour. Then I have to get up. You can't sleep. It's not healthy. So now,
okay, but here's the point.
Yeah, who does Hazel sleep with?
Always
me,
her.
But that's because you don't want to have to deal with her.
No,
in case she wakes you up.
No,
yes.
I don't care. I wouldn't care about that. Plus, she's better if on the occasions you're out of town and she does sleep with me. She's never gotten me up in the middle of the night.
Yeah, but sometimes if she has a bad night and at 3 o'clock she decides she wants to go pee, you're not going to go let her out. I do.
Okay,
you'd let her pee on the mat.
But I want her to protect you at night. She's a great watchdog.
We have a security system.
She has supersonic hearing, and she is fearless. Even though she's small, she would. I just believe this.
She's very happy right now.
I know, but her mission in life, in the end, is to protect you. I don't care what you say. I know her, and she is committed to dying for you if necessary.
The minute you go out of that.
Okay, she loves me.
You walk out, she sits at the door crying beyond control. Right? You do. You do it all the time. She says, no, I don't. Yeah. Until you walk back in that door, she doesn't want to know me. She comes in the back to see what I'm doing, and then she goes right back to the front
She spends the day with me, but she spends the night with you.
Yeah,
that's the way it should be.
She's the night guard for me.
She is your mom reincarnated.
Right. Evelyn.
Okay, this is a quick call back to my opinion from last week that Bob Dylan overrated. You disagreed with me. This is from @OriginalMistakes on YouTube, who says Joni Mitchell was the best singer and songwriter of her generation, not Bob Dylan. Not only is Joni a vastly superior singer, but her lyrics were more poetic and beautiful as well. Dylan is a mimic who shapeshifted and cloned others' lyrics and styles and passed them off as his own. Dylan is a talented chameleon. Joni Mitchell is transcendent.
Okay, I am a big Joni Mitchell fan.
You are bigger than I am.
Yeah, Blue. I love Joni Mitchell.
Yeah,
but I do not think that Dylan is trying to be Joni Mitchell
or be anybody
else. You really can't compare. Joni is an amazing songwriter and an amazing
but her
singer.
voice is way better than Bob Dylan's.
But Bob isn't saying he's the best singer in the world. That's what I don't understand. Everybody wants to say he's not a good singer. He's not the best singer, but he can write. He is a poet. He's won the Nobel Peace Prize. Okay. This man, he's not trying to be Frank Sinatra. So I don't know how you could discount him. Or you can't really pit him against Joni Mitchell.
Okay, he can write. Some of it is just gibberish writing.
I don't care, but it's
some of it is just like bizarre writing. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Joni Mitchell is Emily Dickinson as a poet.
Okay, that's fine.
And her lyrics actually make sense.
Well,
a lot of Bob Dylan's
lyrics to make sense. I like the song and I like the melody. I like the song. Bob Dylan did not listen.
All right.
No offense. I do love Joni, but sorry.
Okay. See, I made a good point about Bob Dylan. Some people agree with me. You got to give me some credit for something. Okay. This is the final comment for this day. This is from @AaronChef, who says, this is truly the best thing Skip has ever done in his career. in my career. This is the best thing I've done in my career.
Thank you.
What a
All
shot,
right. Well,
Chef.
that's only because I'm with you.
Okay. God. I mean, give me a little credit. I did nail Bob
There was
Dylan,
a little bit
right?
more to his comment, but
Okay.
you didn't include it. He did say he liked the show.
Oh, but he loves the show.
Yeah.
Well, that's his point.
Yeah.
Like he
But-
loves what you do,
Right.
and you're the star of the
Right,
show,
of course,
and
yeah, I'm
she's the
the star of the
second
show.
star,
Right,
and
you're
I
just
just
the
go along for the
same.
ride. I am
Right.
the third
You're the
wheel on
arm
the show.
candy.
So all that I've done in my career, as a writer, as a broadcaster, as a TV commentator, all those things I've done.
It
Wrote 3
boils
books.
down to this.
It boils down to this is the best thing I've done in my career.
So nice
Are you
of you
kidding?
to say.
I mean, I think it was a backhanded compliment, like a
Maybe,
backhanded
but he
slap
does
in
like
the face.
show, so I'll take that.
You'll take any compliment.
I
right?
will. I'll take any
Okay.
compliment if they say they like us. Yes.
All right. That is it for round 15. And we will see you next week
Yes.
if we're still
We're
speaking.
Peace out.